Hey YouTube, it's Anthony with Own This, and we're back to make a new little series. These won't be as long as the last ones. That was step by step. This job is just going to be an overall, and we'll talk a little bit, but here's what we're doing. We're going to put Holley Sniper on an 87 Jeep Grand Wagoneer. And we want to thank Norm and Lisa for letting us video this job on doing that. With the kit, I bought the master kit, so it comes with the throttle body injection, all the stuff, and the fuel system. I'll go over that after it's done, maybe a couple little things in there. Holley has an awesome set of videos on the installation, plus their installation book is really awesome. But anyways, I want to quickly go over. So we got a fuel pressure gauge to check our pressure, and a T to tap that in. Zip ties, they're called ADO clamps. They'll bolt in and clamp our wires, hoses, anything in place, make it a good installation. We will be running some wire. I won't need all of this, but you know me, I gotta have some. And it's gonna be basic hand tools, some power tools. I have a lift at my mercy that I can use to help do some of the stuff underneath. I know in our last series of videos I talked about this tool here, crimper. So I'm gonna make factory looking ends like that, and what I'm doing here is I'm making my own relay base to fit where I need it to be. So I thought it was a pretty good idea maybe to go over how this works. There's a depth that is about a 1/4 inch that needs to be trimmed off, so I'll trim off about a 1/4 inch. That may be a little bit more than a 1/4 inch, and hoping you guys can see the details. But this outside crimp actually holds on to the insulation, and then the inside crimps the wire. That way it's got a double grab for pull. Kind of went a little too much here. Let me trim this a touch off here. So different connectors have the dies, is what these are called, have a different die. To get it started, you go ahead and get it in there. I'm going to screw this up. Go ahead and get it seated, and it's just like a saddle. So the saddle goes up. So when you get it seated, you'll see it won't fall out. And then stick your wire in. You'll be able to see it the other side, but you want to make sure there's insulation on that outside crimp. And you just squeeze down until it releases, and you've got your own crimp. Once you make your crimp, you can finish it off with a little heat shrink. And then it just snaps into the base. There's a tang right here. So that goes inside, or you'll see these little notches. That's where the tang goes. So you just push it until you hear it click, and then it won't pull out. We've talked about relays before, but there is usually a schematic. This one's not very clear. There's a schematic on here that tells you which pin goes to where. If you're looking at it like this, these two will be your coil. So that actually is what you want to use to make the relay come on. These two will be your line and your load. So this is be the power maybe from a battery, and then out to a fan would be a good example of how you might want to use it. So we never talked really about those. I know I showed them and talked to them. I crimped the last one. So here's a factory one. Once all my wires are done, it'll look just like that. We'll be able to mount that onto the firewall and it would look factory fresh. Alright guys, it may be difficult to see because of the obstructions here. What I'm doing is drilling a hole for our oxygen sensor. See if I can't do a little bit better job here. Hopefully you can see that. So it's got a clamp and setup. I'm going to temporarily use the clamp until we can get a bung. We've looked around for a bung locally and no dice. I don't really like the clamp thing. I just feel like most of the clamps get rusted and nasty, and is it going to break when you're trying to replace it potentially, or even maintenance? So we'll weld in another bung as a permanent, but for now it's temporarily going to be. Just read the directions on how far off of the manifolds they need to be. We're lucky enough we're going to be able to get past the Y pipe, so it'll be able to read both banks on the system instead of just one side. I need to look inside the frame. It's hard to tell maybe from the angle, but in the side of this frame we're going to be mounting our fuel pump up here. Before we screw any holes in the frame, we need to make sure that there's nothing in there. The gas tank is boxed in all around that frame, so unless I drop the whole thing, it's not going to work. So I have this endoscope. It's a cheap little camera, and you might be able to see on my laptop, but it's looking at you right now. So we can put it inside the frame and be able to see where those fuel lines and everything are. There's a rivet. Cobweb. Alright, there's a bolt, and that bolt's the bottom snubber. There's nothing on the inside bottom. Let's look at the top. Yeah, see there's our fuel lines right there. They're always at the top. So if we stay close to the bottom of our frame, then we will stay away from any of the fuel lines and wiring that we don't want to drill into.